Greetings and welcome back. This is going to be the next stage of some of the more philosophical um, advice that I want to give, kind of practical advice. What I want to talk about now is the flip side of something I talked about in one of my earlier videos, which was how to check a proof or to check a production master to make sure that you're happy with it as a record label or a musician or a publisher, whoever is going to sign off on the any changes done to the audio. I made a point of making that not technical because I wanted to follow up with a separate video, which is this one, where I talk more about the technical side of things. What I want to talk about is what we call QC, quality control. Now, QC is a stage that all the different parts of the production evolution that goes from the original idea all the way to the final piece, there should be some element of QC. But it's most important in mastering because this is your final stage to catch stuff. The practicalities of QC are that when you receive something and before you send something off, you make sure that you are confident with what you're doing. I'm talking about as an audio engineer, but as a producer or a mixer, you might want to apply some of these techniques to the end process before you send on to a mastering engineer, because it basically allows you to have more control over it. And one of my big things that I've talked about a couple of times is that the more control you have, the more confidence you have, the better the result will be. The second you start to freak out, panic, you're unsure, then things start to fall apart. So even if you aren't somebody who's going to be doing audio engineering, it might be useful to you to know this stuff and me explain my process, because you might be able to then communicate your ideas further down the chain. My cat's about to appear. She's off. That's what that noise was. I've got a cat flap in my dining room because that's just the sort of guy I am. Anyway, so when I receive some audio, what I do is I load it up into a program called iZotope RX. And iZotope RX is a post-production program, and it gives you a visual in two different ways. It gives you the waveform and also gives you something called a spectrogram, which is like a another way of looking at sound so that you can pick out certain things, like certain areas of noise or certain little glitches and stuff, and it allows you to see them and focus in on them. It also gives you a readout of the specifications of the audio, so it gives you the bit depth, sample rate, the file type, that sort of stuff. And it allows you to look at the song, for example, in one whole thing. So you'll be able to see if the fade is completed at the start and the end, make sure there's enough space, whether you're going to need to do any adjustments or refade anything or add gaps or anything like that, which is all mastering stuff. And if everything's good to go, you might need to do some resampling or whatever, depending on the session that you're working in. You can then put that in a folder, open up in your DAW and do all the audio processing stuff. Now, once you've bounced your audio process, you've exported it, you need to do another stage of QC, because when you change something, problems can happen. And the things that we're looking for are basically exactly the same as what I said previously. But you're also checking stuff to make sure that the output levels are correct. So we're talking about the headroom, the peak levels. We're also making sure that we bounced it into the correct format. We didn't do any accidental down or up sampling or any truncation to 16-bit without dithering, for example. I'm not going to dither, it's really boring. And it also allows us to see if anything's been brought out. Now, in a practical sense, a lot of the time it's things like little glitches, so you might not hear them until you've done the compression, maybe boosted the high frequency, and then you listen to it on headphones through a high quality headphone amp on high quality headphones. I use these Sennheiser HD600s because they're very fast. They're very good for hearing any distortions, like limited distortion and things like little tiny pops and clicks. And then we make a decision about how we're going to do it. Sometimes if it's just one click and it's been brought out, it's actually easy to take it out on the master, do a re-bounce of that, re-QC that bounce, and then send it off. Sometimes what I'll do is I'll QC the audio and I'll find something a little nasty. Then I'll go back to the previous QC session, open that up, take it out, rebounce the audio with the stuff fixed. It really depends on a bit of trial and error whether that works. It kind of depends on what program you're using. RX is really great for taking out like digital like clocking glitches, which is something you hear a lot. And sometimes you get plugins which do weird stuff like at the start and the end of the audio. It allows you to see the frequency content of them. That can advise you on how to do fades and stuff. I'm going to do another video on fades and try and explain that because that's something that a lot of people get confused about. Now, providing everything is okay with the QC, you're okay to send it off. It would be worth taking notes on this stuff as well, because what you might find that is common is you'll find some glitches and pops and clicks, and then you'll think, actually, was there like a few bits earlier on when I was on another track that sounded a bit like this, and you might want to go back and redo it. One of the great things about working in the box is that I can bounce between this really quickly. I don't have to be sort of write a note and say in 2 days' time when I've got the time and the equipment to change the equipment settings, I can then do X, Y, Z. I'm able to basically say, right, okay, save as, come out, bounce, redo it, check it. Timestamps right in front of you. You can literally leave the program open, and you can bounce between different software if your sound card set up like that. So yeah, I mean, I won't go into the restoration side of stuff too much. That's something that you really need some technical chops to work on. But I wanted to explain what you should be doing at these stages, and understanding what a mastering engineer who's worth the money will be doing. If you find there's any issues with audio, it depends how bad it is. If it's something that's like obviously an issue and it's across a few tracks, you might want to go and say, oh, is it okay if we have a look at the session, rebounce it? If it's just a few pops and clicks, crackles, I think sometimes what I usually do is report back and say, oh, just so you know, I found there's a couple of crackles. I've taken them out, but you might want to have a listen to it. It's not a problem on this. RX is very good at doing that. And then everybody's happy. Like everything, communication is key. Make sure everybody's in the loop. Make sure everybody knows what's going on. Confidence equals better result. So yeah, QC, if you've got any questions, please put them in the comments. I'm going to do a few more technical-ish videos next. The next one's going to be about fades, which is a kind of a boring topic, but it's very important because when it's done wrong, it can be a real problem. Anyway, like, subscribe. Hope you're enjoying these videos. I'm still experimenting with the audio to make sure I can get the audio good. I'm just recording through this Logitech thing at the moment. I'm trying to bring it a bit closer to me. Just trying to avoid some of the loss in sound and trying to avoid some of the fan noise coming out of my computer. So apologies if it's been sounding a little bit sketchy. Obviously, I'm very touchy-feely about audio, but this is meant to be just sort of like a brain dump as opposed to a properly produced thing. Cool. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.